You've been gardening this plot of land for longer than you can measure in seasons. Maybe it's been 5 years. Maybe it's been 50. Either way, the paths are worn. You know where the sun hits at 3 in the afternoon. You know which corners stay damp. You know the rhythm of it all. Then one afternoon, something changes. Your kid comes inside. Your grandchild. Your niece. Whoever walks through that gate, and they're scratching at their neck or their ankle, and you find it, that tiny thing latched on. Or maybe you don't find it until later, when the itching starts, or when the inflammation spreads, or when a doctor mentions Lyme disease. So you panic. You call an exterminator, you buy a spray. You wonder if your garden is unsafe. And the answer isn't what most people think. Your garden isn't unsafe because of chemicals or insects living on the plants themselves. Your garden became unsafe because of what the plants created underneath them. Specifically, the plants you chose for low maintenance. The ones the nursery promised would solve your shady corner. The ones that won the awards 20 years ago and somehow became standard in every yard on the block. I'm Theo, and I've been gardening seriously for most of my adult life. I've made mistakes. Big ones. Some of them were expensive. Some of them brought ticks into my own yard where my family walks. This is the list I wish someone had shown me 30 years ago. There's biology running underneath this whole thing, and understanding it changes everything about how you see your own garden. Ticks don't spontaneously appear from soil or from thin air. Snakes don't move into a yard without a reason. Both follow the exact same pattern, and it starts with something smaller than either of them. It starts with mice. When mice settle into a property, they need 3 specific things. They need dense ground cover at the base level that keeps them hidden from hawks and other predators above. They need soil that stays moist and cool through hot months, the kind of soil that doesn't dry out under summer sun. And they need a food source somewhere within reasonable distance, usually within 30 feet. Once you have mice, ticks hitchhike in on their bodies. This isn't theory or guesswork. The Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station published serious research showing that when certain plants establish themselves, they can support approximately 12 times more infected ticks per acre than properties without those plants. 12 times. That number changes how you look at your foundation planting. And then snakes follow the mice, because snakes follow food. A yard with a thriving mouse population becomes a hunting ground. The snake isn't there for the plants. The snake is there because the plants created the conditions where mice thrive. What's bizarre is that many of the most beautiful ornamental plants, the ones photographed in those golden hour garden magazines, the ones that won design awards in the 90s, the ones you bought specifically because they were supposed to be maintenance-free, are precisely the plants that create these conditions. They're designed, in a sense, to hide small mammals. That's their biology. That's what they do. 15 of these plants are common enough that you probably have at least one in your garden right now. I certainly did. I have some still, but I've learned to manage them differently. Some need to come out entirely. Others just need adjustment. The 15 on this list vary by how serious the problem is. Some are regional. Some are universal across North America. Some have been put on official invasive species lists by the federal government. Others are still sold at major national chains despite the research against them. Before we get into the specific plants, understand this. I'm not suggesting you tear out your entire garden. I'm not claiming every plant on Earth is dangerous. What I'm saying is that if you're finding ticks on your family, if you're nervous about snakes, if you've had even one encounter that made you uncomfortable, look at this list. Look at your actual garden. And then make informed decisions about what stays and what goes. This is my yard. This is where I walk every morning. This is where children play. That matters more than any other reason. Let's start with the worst ones first. Plant number 15. Boxwood. You'll see boxwood somewhere on nearly every property built in the last 70 years. It's the dark green evergreen hedge that forms the edge of foundation plantings, the frame for walkways, the formal boundary for garden beds. Boxwood is predictable. It's evergreen. It tolerates shearing. It looks intentional. Home Depot sells it by the pallet. The problem with boxwood is subtle until you actually look underneath it. Boxwood foliage touches the ground from the moment you plant it. A mature hedge creates an unbroken low canopy that small mammals colonize within 2 seasons. The soil under that hedge stays protected from weather, sheltered and cool. Mice, voles, and chipmunks will establish colonies in old boxwood hedges and use the line of plantings as a covered corridor along the foundation of your house. Where small mammals travel, ticks travel with them. The good news, you don't have to remove boxwood. You have to prune it differently. Take the lower foliage off and raise it to at least ankle height. This breaks the mammal corridor. It lets air move underneath. The hedge still looks intentional. It still looks manicured. You've just eliminated the protected travel corridor. Plant number 14, hosta. Every gardener over 60 has hostas. Most of us have too many. I have too many. They're easy. They survive shade where nothing else does. The large leaves are attractive. They come back every year. The problem is the dense shade those leaves create. A mature hosta clump shades the ground completely. The soil underneath stays damp through July heat. Mice love those conditions. Damp soil, dense shade, and protection from predators above. That's the trifecta for small mammal habitat. Here's what you probably don't do. You probably don't look underneath your hostas. You probably rake the leaves off the top in fall. But between the leaves and the soil, in that damp darkness, there's life. You don't need to remove hostas. You need to space them. Separate your clumps by at least 2 feet. Cut back the outer leaves in early September instead of waiting for first frost. Rake the leaf litter out of the bed in October before ticks overwinter in it. A few hostas in filtered shade is fine. A solid carpet of hostas under a maple tree is something to address. Plant number 13, Asian bittersweet. Asian bittersweet is the orange-fruited vine that lights up rural fences in October. People plant it for fall color. The plant climbs everything within reach. It drapes over hedges. It swallows old apple trees. It creates dense thickets that small mammals colonize within 2 seasons. The USDA Forest Service has this plant on the federal invasive species list across most of the eastern United States. It's considered a serious problem. Deer browse the leaves. Mice nest in the tangle at the base. Ticks come in on both species. The plant is also nearly impossible to remove once established. The roots spread aggressively several feet from the parent vine. Cutting the vine at the base just triggers re-sprouting from the root system within weeks. Professional removal involves cardboard and 12 months of smothering. Or cut and treat with herbicide. It's a project. If you have Asian bittersweet, and many older properties do, start removal this fall. If you want the orange berries and the fall color, plant Native American bittersweet instead. It gives you the visual you want without the invasive thicket. Plant number 12, wisteria. When wisteria gets overgrown, it becomes something else entirely. Chinese wisteria is the cascading lavender vine that turned every American front porch into a postcard in the 50s. It's also one of the most aggressive structural climbers in the catalog. An untended wisteria becomes a dense tangle within 5 years. That tangle is the problem. Old wisteria on a pergola, overgrown and untrimmed for several seasons, creates an undisturbed microhabitat that mice and chipmunks colonize. The wisteria itself isn't the attractant. The dense protected mass it creates is. If you have a maintained wisteria trimmed twice a year and pruned hard in late winter, you don't have a problem. If you have wisteria that's grown over the side of an outbuilding or smothered an old swing set, that mass needs to come down. Replace it with Native American wisteria. It blooms less dramatically, but it doesn't become structural. Plant number 11, Vinca minor, periwinkle. Vinca was planted across American suburbs in the 70s as the perfect shade ground cover. The catalogs called it foolproof. Foolproof was correct in the sense that you can't kill it. That's also the problem. The plant covers the ground completely. It returns every spring without intervention. It creates a continuous mat that nothing else can colonize. That mat is exactly what small mammals settle into. Once Vinca establishes, it self-roots from every node. The roots intertwine into continuous fabric. Mice tunnel between the stems below the leaf layer. A solid bed of vinca is something to remove. Use cardboard and 6 inches of wood chips for 12 months. After that period, replant with native ginger or wild strawberry. Plant number 10. Japanese Pachysandra. The audit begins. Every house built between 1950 and 1990 has a Pachysandra bed somewhere on the property. I planted a 30-foot bed of it in my first yard around 1985 before anyone in gardening circles was discussing what those mats do to small mammal populations underneath. We didn't know back then. We know now. The plant is dark green and evergreen. It grows in deep shade where nothing else does. It creates exactly the same continuous ground mat as Vinca minor. Mice live in it. Chipmunks burrow under it. Ticks come in with both species. Pachysandra is harder to identify as a problem because the leaves are larger and the bed looks neat from above. The real action is happening right underneath the surface. Lift the leaf canopy in mid-July, and the surface of the soil is cool, dark, damp, and probably crisscrossed with mouse tunnels. You've created a small mouse city right there against your foundation. The fix is smother and replace. Use the same cardboard and wood chips method. Native plants that work for the same shade conditions include wild ginger, woodland phlox, or Pennsylvania sedge. Plant number 9. Liriope, lily turf. Liriope is the grass-like clumping plant edging suburban driveways across the southeast. The plant grows in tight rosettes about 18 inches tall, blooms purple in late summer, and survives drought once established. Garden centers sell it as maintenance-free edging. The clumps are the issue. Each Liriope clump is a small fortress at ground level. The dense base creates cool, humid, sheltered conditions that non-venomous snakes look for during heat of day. The clumps also catch leaf litter and create humid pockets where ticks overwinter. Most gardens with a Liriope border have at least one snake hiding spot they don't know about. The fix isn't removing Liriope entirely. It's keeping the clumps separated by at least 18 inches and raking the bed clear of leaf litter in October. A maintained Liriope edge with airspace between clumps is acceptable. A solid block of Liriope along a foundation wall is something to address. Plant number 8. The aggressive English ivy. English ivy is the most aggressive evergreen ground cover sold at any garden center in America. The plant climbs everything within reach, smothers tree trunks, and forms thick mats across the ground that nothing else can penetrate. The leaves are dark green and waxy. For decades, catalogs photographed it on stone walls in golden hour light. Ivy is the worst ground cover on this list for tick and snake habitat. The dense canopy holds humidity through the entire summer. The mat below is colonized by mice within 2 years of establishment. Ivy climbing a mature tree trunk creates a vertical highway for mice into the canopy where they nest above ground. There is no light removal protocol for English ivy. The professional approach is full removal. Pull the vines off trees, cut at the base, dig out the roots, and smother any regrowth for 12 months. This is a fall and winter project. Native creeping phlox and foamflower replace ivy in shade. Native bearberry replaces it in sun. If you need a sense of urgency here, understand that ivy doesn't just create a tick problem on your property. It damages trees. It smothers them. A mature ivy-covered oak or maple is a compromised tree. Sometimes it's already too late to save the tree, but you can stop spreading to the next one. Plant number 7. Mulberry trees, low branches. Mulberry trees were planted across rural landscapes for 2 centuries because the fruit feeds chickens, pigs, and people. The tree is hardy. The fruit is genuine. The problem is what happens around an old mulberry in a yard. Birds eat the berries and roost in lower branches. Mammals collect under the canopy for fallen fruit. Deer will come for both the berries and the fallen fruit. By the second summer of an established mulberry near a residential property line, the area around the trunk becomes a wildlife concentration point, and ticks ride in on every species. The tree itself is fine. The low branches are the problem. If you have a mature mulberry, prune the lowest branches to at least 6 feet off the ground. Rake the fallen fruit weekly through July and August. Both moves break the wildlife concentration without removing the tree. If you have a mulberry seedling that volunteered along a fence line, pull it now while the taproot is still manageable. Plant number 6. The aggressive multiflora rose. Multiflora rose is the most common invasive rose in the eastern United States. The plant was introduced for erosion control and as a living fence. It does both jobs aggressively. An unmanaged multiflora rose hedge becomes a dense thorny thicket within 4 years. Deer use multiflora rose as bedding cover. Deer are the primary host for adult ticks across most of the country. A multiflora rose thicket on the back edge of a property is a deer hotel, and where deer bed down, adult ticks lay eggs. The Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station documented multiflora rose specifically as a tick-amplifying habitat. Removal is brutal. The thicket is thorny and the roots are deep. Heavy gloves, long sleeves, sharp loppers, and patience. Cut everything to ground level. Return every 6 weeks to cut the regrowth. By the second year, the root system exhausts itself. Native pasture rose is the substitute if you want a wild rose look. Plant number 5. Invasive honeysuckle. There are 2 species here, and they're different plants with different problems, but they create the same result. Japanese honeysuckle is the climbing vine your grandmother might have grown over a porch railing. Amur honeysuckle is the shrubby, fast-growing landscape plant that took over Midwest suburban yards in the 80s. Both are documented invasive across most of the eastern United States. Both create dense undergrowth. Both leaf out earlier in spring than native shrubs and hold leaves later in fall, which extends the protected season for small mammals living underneath. This extended season is the problem. Deer browse honeysuckle, mice nest under it. Ticks come in with both. A hedge of Amur honeysuckle along a suburban property line is one of the most consistent tick amplification structures in American landscaping. The native alternative is northern bush honeysuckle, Deervilla lonicera. Native honeysuckle vines like coral honeysuckle, Lonicera sempervirens. Substitute for Japanese honeysuckle on a trellis without becoming invasive. If you have an established Amur honeysuckle hedge, that's an autumn removal project. Cutting and applying herbicide to the cut stump is the only reliable method. Plant number 4. The dramatic pampas grass. Pampas grass is the dramatic 8-foot-tall ornamental grass with feathery white plumes that became a suburban status symbol in the 80s. The plant is native to South America. It survives drought. It's also impossible to remove once mature. A mature pampas grass clump can spread 8 to 10 feet across at the base in optimal conditions. The dense interior of the clump stays dark and protected from wind. Snakes shelter inside the dry leaf litter that accumulates at the base. Small mammals nest in the same dry mass. The plant itself doesn't attract ticks directly, but the mammal population it shelters carries ticks into the surrounding yard. If you have a young pampas grass under 3 years old, dig it out this fall. If you have a mature clump, the professional removal involves cutting the entire plant back to 12 inches, soaking the crown in vinegar, and digging out the root mass over 2 seasons. Substitute with native big bluestem Andropogon gerardii or little bluestem Schizachyrium scoparium for the height and texture without the wildlife problem. Plant number 3. The popular miscanthus. Miscanthus sinensis and similar miscanthus varieties, called maiden grass, Japanese silvergrass, and other names, have been the most popular ornamental grass in American landscapes since the 1990s. The plant grows 6 to 8 feet tall, blooms feathery plumes in September, and dies back to a dry standing mass that holds through winter. That dry standing mass is the issue. From October through April, an unbroken miscanthus clump is a dry protected shelter at ground level. Mice nest in the clumps over winter. Snakes overwinter in the same protected base. By the time you cut the grass back in March, you have a small wildlife colony moving out into the rest of the yard. Miscanthus is also documented as invasive in several states, particularly along roadsides and disturbed areas where the seed spreads. The fix is cutting the grass back to 10 inches in November instead of waiting for spring. The cut breaks the winter shelter. The mice and snakes find somewhere else to settle. Spring growth comes back the same. Native big bluestem and little bluestem are the alternatives. Both are clump-forming natives and don't provide the same dense overwinter shelter. Plant number 2. Spreading ground cover junipers. These are Juniperus horizontalis varieties. Creeping juniper was planted across American suburbs as the rock garden and slope cover solution. The plant is hardy, evergreen, drought-tolerant, and forms dense mats across rocky ground where nothing else grows. Catalogs sold it as the maintenance-free landscape rescue plant. The dense mat is the entire problem. A mature creeping juniper bed is 12 to 18 inches deep at the surface, with a dry, humid cavity underneath that small mammals colonize permanently. The needles on the surface catch leaf litter. The cavity below stays dry and protected through every weather event. Mice, chipmunks, voles, and the occasional snake all use established creeping juniper beds as habitat. Ticks come in with the mammals. The fix isn't always removal. Maintained juniper beds kept thin, cleared of leaf litter, and separated by airspace are acceptable. Overgrown solid juniper coverage is something to address. For full removal, the smother method works. Use cardboard and 6 inches of wood chips and wait 12 months. Native bearberry replaces it in sun. Native creeping phlox works in part shade. Plant number 1, the highly invasive Japanese barberry. This is the plant Connecticut studied. Japanese barberry is the dense thorny shrub with red foliage that became a suburban landscape staple in the 80s. Catalogs sold it as maintenance-free. The plant survives drought, shade, and pruning neglect. It was supposed to be perfect. It's also the most documented tick-amplifying plant in the United States. Researchers led by Dr. Scott Williams at the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station published research showing that forests with established Japanese barberry supported approximately 12 times more infected black-legged ticks per acre than forests without the plant. The mechanism is direct. The dense, thorny structure traps humidity near 80% at ground level, which protects ticks from drying out and concentrates the white-footed mice that carry them. Japanese barberry is on invasive species lists across most of New England and the Mid-Atlantic, with outright sale bans in Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New York, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Wisconsin, and several others. National chains still sell seed-producing dwarf cultivars through online catalogs in states where the species itself is banned. That's not a loophole worth using. I had 3 established Japanese barberries along the gate to my own perennial border. I planted them in 1997. After the Connecticut research came out and I read the actual paper, I dug all 3 out over 2 falls of weekends. The root systems were the worst removal of any shrub I've ever pulled. Every fragment regrew the following spring. 2 years later, no Japanese barberry on the property. Tick incidents dropped. My granddaughter walks the yard barefoot in July. The native substitute is winterberry holly, Ilex verticillata, with red fall berries, deciduous and completely safe. The walk your yard this weekend. Look at each plant on this list. Pull what you can. You walk this yard every morning. So does anyone who visits. The yard deserves to be walked without ticks following anyone home. If you found this useful, subscribe. It means something. And if you're watching this and you've had your own tick encounter, drop your state in the comments. Regional patterns matter. We all learn from each other. I'll be back with another script soon.